Hello, my friends, beautiful co creators. Welcome. Listen, are you still struggling to actualize or manifest the things that you desire in your life? Do you get stuck and bogged down in your negative thoughts? If so, this video is for you. Today, I'm going to share with you the top 3 things you need to do to manifest in your life. And I'm getting this information from Neville Goddard and Florence Scovel Shinn. So I've read all their books so that you don't have to. So I'm going to go through what I've learned and share it with you today because it's really amazing information. Manifesting is a hot topic. It has been a topic that's been a hot topic for hundreds of years, if not more, right? And if you don't know a Florence Scovel Shinn or Neville Goddard, they are amazing. I enjoy their books. And Florence was writing books back in the early 1900s. So she's been around for a really long time. And well, she's no longer around. But I'm going to share with you the top 3 things that you need to do. Are you ready to dive in? Okay. Number 1. The number 1 thing you need to do to manifest what you want is to ignore reality. Okay? Ignore what is happening out there around you. So the problem that we run into is that many of us look upon our reality, we see what's going on out there, we get bogged down, we think nothing's working, it's not happening, I can't do it, nothing goes my way. And we believe those lies and those stories, and we get stuck in that because we're paying too much heed to what is happening out there. And what's happening out there is simply the manifestation of our past thoughts. So pay no mind because now you are on a new road. So whatever is going across your reality, whatever you're seeing in your living world, don't give it much attention at all. Okay? Number 2 is concentrate on the feeling that you want to feel. So really get clear. What is it that I'm desiring to feel, right? If I had this thing that I want to manifest or the life that I'm imagining and dreaming of, if it was here, if I was living it every day, how would I feel? And for the sake of this video, I'm just going to pretend and assume that it's fulfillment. Let's say that we just want to feel so fulfilled that if we had all the things and had accomplished all the stuff, that we would feel so incredibly fulfilled, right? And peaceful. So concentrate on that feeling. That is the second step. And then the third step is to visualize and then rest. So you're not paying attention to what's going on around you. You're concentrating on how you want to feel. And then you're visualizing yourself in your life, living your day to day. What would be happening? What would you be doing if that was your reality and that feeling is how you were feeling? And then you rest, right? So it's not something that you have to concentrate on all the time or be doing all the time, but you're going to continually do this practice on a regular basis. And I highly recommend that you do this at night before you go to sleep, right? Our subconscious does not know the difference between waking reality and what's really happening and our imagination. So if we can imagine it, then it's like tricking our subconscious into like, oh, this is our reality. This is what we need to be vibing at, attracting, creating, actualizing, right? So Florence calls it controlled imagination, that Lord is law, is truth, and that we are enslaved by lack. We are asleep in the Adamic dream. What is that? Well, when we have the story, right, of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and they eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and now we have duality, and we have this idea of evil and lack. And we are trapped in this world, right, of paying attention to that. But that Christ's mission was to wake people up to one power, one God, right? So if you are still lacking anything in your life, Florence says, you are asleep to your good. It's almost impossible to see clearly for yourself. And that is where the healer, the practitioner, or the friend comes into play. So, in the work that I do in the world, I'm a clairvoyant healer and reader. I talk to people from all over the world. And this is one of the powerful things I provide, right? It's not always that I'm sharing with people some amazing thing that they've never thought of, which sometimes does happen. But sometimes we need someone when someone's asking me their questions and, telling me what's going on in their life, it is so clear and easy for me to see their limitation and their lack and the belief systems that are getting in the way, causing them to feel like they can't have what they want, right? So that's where having that connection to the healer, the practitioner, the friend, talking out, getting really clear on like, what do you see here that I don't, that's standing in the way of my good? Neville says, form a mental image of that person that you want to be, right? Concentrate upon the feeling that you are that person and then visualize and rest in that feeling, right? And in time, it will become a reality. But this is the trap where a lot of people fall short. We might be able to be like, okay, I know what I want and I can feel it and I can think about it and I can visualize it. But then when we don't see it actualize as quickly as we desire, we get bogged down because the mind comes in and wants it on the mind's timing. And the mind comes in with the stories of lack and limitation. And then we get stuck and trapped in believing the mind. And so that's where we get bogged down, right? So Neville says that the great secret is a controlled imagination and well-sustained attention, firmly and repeatedly focused on that aim. And that once it is imagined, it is done. We can trust that it is done, that it will come to pass. So, where I counsel a lot of people to work is that liminal in between place when we're still seeing the reality of our old life playing out before us. We're feeling stuck and like, not sure if we're actually manifesting. And we're not quite through the hallway into the new room or the new life. And our mind will come in and tell us stories. Our mind will come in and tell us lies. And this is where we have to be very vigilant. Florence Scovel Shinn says that eternal vigilance is the price of freedom from negative thought forms. Okay, so we must be vigilant. And when those thoughts start to creep in, I really recommend that people get really proficient at recognizing them, hearing them, noticing them, and stopping them. This is consciousness. This is awakening. When we can begin to know these thoughts are coming up and they're there, then we have power, right? Then we can make a change. So I once went to a psychic reader before I ever knew that I was psychic or that I had abilities, or before I'd ever given a reading. I went to see this reader and she was telling me all these lovely, wonderful things about myself and things that I could expect to unfold in my life. And she says, every time I say this to you, you're saying, yeah, but. She's like, I'm not sure if you're conscious of that or not, but I keep hearing your yeah buts. And in the moment, I was like, oh, really? No. And later, I started to realize she was right. I would be thinking about something I wanted, and then I would hear, yeah, but I can't do that. Or I would be hearing someone else say something wonderful to me, and I would hear my own voice say, yeah, but it wasn't even conscious to me. It was happening on an unconscious level. And when she shined the light on it and brought some conscious awareness to it, then I was able to see it and begin to work with it and shift it and change it. That is how we heal. When we look at something, it moves, right? When we can see it, acknowledge it, it changes. So we're going to ignore reality. We're going to concentrate on the feeling. We're going to visualize and then rest. We're going to be vigilant about this. When we notice those past negative thought forms coming up, we're going to interrupt them. So you bring conscious awareness to it and you're going to say, cancel, clear, delete, or cancel, 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 or whatever really resonates and clicks for you. But you want to acknowledge it and then clear it and then replace it with something else, because we know that those neural pathways that have fired together wire together. So from the work of Joe Dispenza and Perlmutter and different people on the cutting edge of neuroscience, we know that the brain is like plastic, right? It's got neural plasticity. We can change our brain, we can grow our brain. So those old pathways of lack and I'm not good enough and victim mentality, they are well grooved. They're familiar. They're like a security blanket. It's very easy to go back to them. If we can interrupt those and replace them every time we hear them with some kind of an affirmation that really works for you, that clicks for you, it has to be authentic for you. You'll have to sit and really get clear on what that is for you, something that locks in. But sitting with it and bringing it in will create that new neural pathway that then can begin to be like a muscle that we're growing of a new belief, right? And a new belief gives us a new brain. Like Florence says, that if you lack, you're still asleep to your good. And that when you notice and you start to create that new affirmation, and then you're sitting with what you want, you also want to begin to ask. You want to begin to ask the divine, God, spirit, whatever you call it, for a hunch, for a lead. Okay. So she says, it's by your word you are justified. In one of her books, she talks about in the Bible, Isaiah 43:19, behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall ye not know it? I will even make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. So there's many wonderful statements here showing the irresistible power of supreme intelligence coming to man's rescue in times of trouble. No matter how impossible the situation seems, infinite intelligence knows the way out. And working with God, power, truth, man becomes unconditioned and absolute. So let us unleash this hidden power that we can call upon at any moment. Make your contact with infinite intelligence, the God within, and all appearances of evil evaporates, for it comes from our vain imaginings, right? So people would ask her, how do you make a conscious contact with this invincible power? And she would say, by your word. By your word, you are justified, right? So we're going to ignore reality. We're going to concentrate on the feeling. We're going to visualize ourselves in this life, and then we're going to rest. But we're also going to be very vigilant about the words that we're thinking and the words that we're speaking, because it is by our word that we create and manifest. The centurion said to Jesus Christ, speak the word, Master, and my servant shall be healed. Whosoever calleth on the name of the Lord shall be delivered. Notice the word call. You are calling on the Lord or law when you make an affirmation of truth. As I always say, this is Florence, take a statement which clicks. That means gives you a feeling of security. So we're enslaved by ideas of lack of love, lack of money, lack of companionship, lack of health. And they are enslaved, all of us, right, by the ideas of interference and incompletion. We are asleep, right? It's the Maya, the tree of illusion. And so we have to wake up. We have to have belief in our success. And also, this is another bonus point, but this comes up a lot in a lot of these different books, is talk about your affairs as little as possible. People sabotage by talking about their affairs, telling people, I'm working on manifesting. I'm really going to change it now. I'm going to do this. I'm going to work out, right? It's like these New Year resolutions that just don't happen. Don't talk about your affairs, right? She says the world is full of wet blankets, people who will tell you it cannot be done and you're aiming too high. So sit in truth, call upon divine spirit to support you, follow those hunches. And she says the intuitive person is never undecided because we are given leads and hunches and we go boldly ahead knowing we're on the magic path. So in truth, we always ask for definite leads. And we will always receive one if we ask for it. And it might come in intuition and it might come from the external. This is another thing that happens a lot in my readings, which I find so fascinating because the people that come to me are very spiritual, right? They're very deep, wise, spiritual people. But you wouldn't believe the amount of people who are not actually asking, lifting it up to spirit. We lack belief that it's true, I think. We lack belief and faith in God, in spirit, that the universe, right? We want to believe it, we hope it, we read about it, but a lot of times we lack belief that it will be done. Thy will be done. So lift it up. If we want help from the higher realms, from the spiritual realms, we have to ask. We have to bring it and say, please give me a hunch. Please show me the way. And then we have to pay attention, and then we have to follow those hunches, right? We have to be willing to take bold action, even when that reason mind comes in. So forget about the past. Don't focus on the old things. Ask and it will come in. And then she goes on to say, but you must live in the now and you must be wide awake to your opportunities. God is the giver and the gift, but we have to be wide awake to our good. We have to have the ears to hear, the eyes to see, the open road of fulfillment, right? The genius within me is released, and I now fulfill my destiny. Okay. This book is so great. This is The Magic Door to Success. She goes on in this. I just think it's really fascinating, actually. So this video is getting kind of long, but I'll just share this final piece to wrap up today. So she goes on to talk about when she wrote this was at the time that Walt Disney had released Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And she goes on to talk about the archetypes in this show and why everyone was rapt and all the adults were just going to the theaters and everyone was talking about this. So she says about the cruel stepmother that the cruel stepmother is a negative thought form that you have built up in your subconscious, and that Snow White's cruel stepmother is jealous and always keeps her in rags and in the background, and that all cruel thought forms do this to us. So then Snow White goes and she's in the forest and she finds these friendly birds and animals, and these symbolize our intuitive leads and our hunches, which are always ready and there to get us out of the woods. The seven dwarfs symbolize the protective forces all about us when we start to trust and ask and get the helpers from the divine. Then when the red luscious apple comes and the birds and animals try to tell her not to touch it, they're giving her the hunch. But she doesn't listen. So then when the prince appears and he kisses her and they're happily ever after, these are the old thought forms being dissolved and dissipated forever. The prince symbolizes the divine plan of your life. And when it wakes you up, you live happily ever after. We should think about what form of tyranny is our cruel stepmother taking in our subconscious. It's some negative conviction which works out in all our affairs. So we must drown out the dreary suggestions. We must drown out the cruel stepmother and have eternal vigilance. And that is how we get free. Nothing can hinder, nothing can delay the manifestation of the divine plan of my life. And the light of lights streams on my pathway, revealing the open road of fulfillment. I hope that that was helpful for you today. Ignore reality, concentrate on that feeling, visualize, and then rest. But keep it up and be vigilant about those negative thought forms that are going to come in and try to keep you bogged down because they're not true. And lift it up, my friends. Ask for those hunches and leads and be brave and courageous enough to follow those hunches and leads when the divine brings it to you. And notice when your mind is trying to get in the way in the form of those evil thought forms, trying to tell you this is baloney, you're not going to do it, see, you're not doing it right, you're not good enough. Cancel, clear, delete, and keep on keeping on, my friend. If you are not doing your work to ground out your energy, to clean your space, please check out my guided meditation down below. In this day and age, it's January 2025. If you are here, you are probably a sensitive, intuitive, spiritual being. You're probably out there matching the negative energy of other people. We see people out there, right? We get our visuals, we get our imagination, we get our feeling that we want to create, and then we go out in the world and we come across people who are negative or events that are negative, and we begin to get bogged down. We take on their energy, we match those pictures, and we get stuck again. So grounding, running energy, setting your auric bubble, cleaning and clearing your space will help you immensely. So check out that free meditation down below, and I will catch you on the flip side.